Witam, zagrajmy dalej w Star Trek Judgment Rise. Zaczynamy misję kolejną. Zadanie naszym będzie wizyta w muzeum, po prostu taka bezproblemowa, bezkłopotliwa i tak dalej. Wizyta w muzeum. Tutaj te trzaski jeszcze słychać z poprzedniej misji, ale to one się zaraz uspokoją.
All sensors are clear, Captain.
No word from Nova Atar, Captain.
W każdym bądź razie musimy się udać do systemu Nova Atar, który się znajduje tutaj. Taka szara, wyglądająca jak gwiazda w tle. Jak te wszystkie
We've
gwiazdy w
arrived
tle.
at Nova Atar, Captain.
Bring us into standard orbit, Mr. Sue.
Aye, Captain.
I co, już? Trzaski dalej słychać, tak? Ale mówię, to zaraz się uspokoi.
We are at Nova Atar.
Curator Breznia bids you to beam down at your pleasure.
No to co, chodzimy.
Mr. Scott, Mr. Checkov, come with me. Mr. Spock, you have the car.
Nowa ekipa!
Captain Kirk, good to meet you. I am Boris Breznia, curator of the museum. Everyone is buzzing about visitors from the Enterprise. A real feather in my cap.
The pleasure is ours, sir. This is my chief engineer, Mr. Scott, and Ensign Checkov, our navigator.
Most pleased to meet you both. Checkov, a fine name. I'm certain you will be interested in sampling the Kazakhstanian cognac, distilled and blended by my family. In fact, I will later show you my most prized possession, a bottle of our finest vintage, aged 40 years from our very first press.
But isn't cognac French?
Originally, Mr. Scott. But before my ancestors came to settle this planet, they went to Cognac and purchased cuttings, brought them here, and made enhancements. You could say we reinvented Cognac. I do not wish to be rude, but you gentlemen are a bit early, and I must see to making certain the cleaning crews are finished working. Please, feel free to look about a bit. I will page you later, and maybe you will join me in a small toast before the ceremonies. Yes?
It would be our pleasure, curator.
Teleportowaliśmy się prosto do jego biura i zostaliśmy wyproszeni.
I told you we invented it. Maybe we were a little hard on you, laddie.
Never doubted you for a second, Mr. Checkov. Now let's take advantage of this time and look around.
Tutaj jest sporo eksponatów i generalnie to się skończy po pewnym czasie, chociaż można też ten czas skrócić, idąc bezpośrednio do pewnego miejsca, gdzie po prostu przejść się dalej nie da. Wtedy po prostu jakby czas zostaje wyzerowany, tak? Natychmiast się dzieje jakby kolejna scena. Mimo wszystko poświęcimy jednak tutaj chwilę na obejrzenie tych artefaktów.
The plaque reads, an old ground-based phaser cannon model B-17, the real equalizer, rescued from a Federation scrapyard, probably based on the...
I tutaj nie będę już tego tej narratorki słuchał, nie? Bo bardzo dużo to jest tekstu. Ja po prostu będę to robił w ten sposób, że tutaj przy tych eksponatach przynajmniej, że po prostu będę to pomijał, tak? Będę dawał chwilę, że jak ktoś chce to przeczytać, niech sobie zapauzuje.
Lights cascade continually above the surface of this device. Plaques on each side read, the Vandecourt Aurora generator was donated to this museum by Sir William Loudon. The plaque reads, the Niven, non-integrated Vulcan electronumerator, was one of the earliest versions of a Vulcan computer. Some of the components were found to only... The Klingon console looks operational, but without a ship attached, it's hard to tell. Written on the plaque, this is a control console from a Klingon warbird, the Klarg, which was salvaged from the battle wreckage near Crimmins 8.
Think you could make that work, Mr. Scott?
Of course, Captain. But it's not like I'll ever have to.
Oczywiście każdym jeszcze tutaj bohaterem można też użyć tych przedmiotów i każdy też wygłosi swój komentarz na ten temat.
I imagine this is how you decorate your home, Mr. Scott.
Aye, Captain. But I'd leave all the parts in. Most of this has been gutted.
No, czyli nie działają.
You know, this is a fine place, Captain. We'll have to come here for shore leave more often.
Maybe they'll display a piece of the Enterprise here someday, Captain.
Maybe they will, Mr. Checkov.
They'd better not. Taking a piece out of that grand lady would be like cutting the head from the statue of the Antares maiden and putting that on display.
Interesting analogy, Mr. Scott. But you have to admit that someday even the Enterprise will be put into dry dock.
She will not.
I think we'll agree with Mr. Scott on this one, don't you think, Mr. Checkov?
Yes, Captain.
A jednak będzie.
You know, this is a fine place.
Też było, sorry.
I suppose this is interesting, but tampering with equipment will set off alarms. We hardly want trouble on our shore leave.
Aha, czyli jednak nie można na tym etapie. No dobrze.
I've never seen one of these up close before.
A beauty, isn't it, Captain?
I'll take your word for it, Mr. Scott.
Tak, działo.
No, I don't think that's necessary.
Działo piękne.
Interesting piece of Klingon machinery. Maybe we should install one of these in the Enterprise. What do you think, Mr. Scott?
I think not, Captain.
Just a thought, Mr. Scott.
Dlaczego nie? Dlatego, że przestarzałe? Może. Komputer taśmowy. No dobra, idźmy na dół. Jak grałem za pierwszym razem, to poszedłem do góry i w sumie chyba tutaj nie ma wystarczająco dużo czasu, żeby obejrzeć wszystkie eksponaty tak naprawdę.
Low and sleek, this space vehicle has a Spartan look, written on the plaque. This is the escape pod in which the famous smuggler known as the Black McKiernan was captured. Unable to outrun his pursuers, McKiernan tried to escape in... The surface of the old docking ring is pitted from micrometeorite strikes, and there are several large welds running completely around it. The plaque reads, "A failed experiment in Habis robotics. The Green Mark VI was one of those ideas where the original concept might have been sound, but the follow-ups were too much. Planned as a simple cargo handler."
Jest naprawdę bardzo dużo tekstu, bardzo konkretne są te opisy i no... Ciekawe, że musieli powymyśleć takie rzeczy tutaj autorzy scenariusza, nie? Historia każdego z tych przedmiotów.
This was a sensor diagram from the
Nice diagram.
Tak.
Tampering with things will probably upset the museum and Starfleet.
I wasn't going to tamper, Captain. I was going to just examine in detail.
No właśnie.
Captain Kirk and party, please report to the curator's office, please. Captain Kirk and party, please report to the curator's office.
Już się nasz czas skończył. Teraz zostajemy
I hope you
teleportowani.
enjoyed your tour, gentlemen. Please join me. Would you mind if the first toast with the Kazakhstanian was to the Enterprise?
Curator, why isn't that Brezhnev cognac?
For heaven's sakes, Checkov, don't interrupt a man on the verge of toasting the best ship in the fleet with the finest cognac on this side of the galaxy.
My apologies.
Polał.
Questions later, then. The toast. Here's to the Starship Enterprise.
Alert? A dalej spokojna muzyczka gra, co
What
ma
could
być.
this be?
A conspiracy, if you ask me, Captain.
Let me pull this up on screen.
Napad.
They've destroyed my camera. Well, let's see how they deal with our other security systems.
Ojej. Więcej alkoholu dla nas będzie. Nie mamy przedmiotów żadnych. No nie. Pomóż mu. Resurrekcja.
He's unconscious, Captain.
Thanks, Mr. Checkov. I was just thinking how useless it would have been for Dr. McCoy to have come with us.
No właśnie. To nie teraz, kiedy żeśmy doktora nie zabrali.
Look around, gentlemen. Let's see if we can find something to solve this little mystery.
I do not know what we should do next, Captain. Maybe I can wring some information out of that security panel.
Ale przecież to zaraz cię porazi.
This is not quite the shore leave I expected, Captain.
No dobra.
An enormous bottle of cognac. The plaque below reads, "This Jeroboam of Kazakhstanian cognac is from the first blending and 40-year aging on Nova Atar."
40 lat ma ten koniak.
A small, tantalizing goblet of cognac, waiting for the warm touch of Mr. Scott's hand to gently release its vapors. A nearly full decanter of cognac. Finely crafted silver serving tray.
Tacka.
This glass birdhouse is the nesting place of a Brucknerian swallow.
Ptaszek tam jakiś lata.
A monitoring and control station for museum security. Ignoring the slight ozone odor, the curator looks peacefully asleep.
No, na pewno. Generalnie jak człowiek traci przytomność tak, że leży i się nie rusza przez dłuższy czas, to znaczy, że jest z nim bardzo źle. Filmy kłamią.
Look around, gentlemen. Let's see if we can find something to solve this little mystery.
I do not know what we should do next, Captain.
A nie, też było? Dobra. Może tylko koniaku się napi, co?
I don't understand what you want me to do, Captain.
Poważnie?
I don't understand. I don't understand.
O, no, to rozumiesz.
Scotty, we've got work to do.
Seemed like a crime to waste it, Captain.
Ale mimo wszystko weźmiemy. Scottiemu nie wolno, ale kapitanowi
The
już
decanter
tak.
is nearly full.
Weźmiemy też tackę. Nie
This
wiadomo
is a
po co.
very expensive silver tray.
I weźmiemy też 40-letni koniak.
I feel rather bad about this, Captain.
I do too, Scotty, but it's always surprising what you need in an emergency.
Rycerza też weźmiemy. I pod tym
I
stało coś
wonder
jeszcze.
what this is for.
Obejrzyjmy.
The note on the paper reads, Bresnia, VVSOP 2123.
21-23. O?
The large lance shows somewhere.
A rycerza może wziąć?
There is nothing more to get here.
A może go
We
użyć?
learned as children playing chess, it's never a good idea to randomly move your knight about.
I wish Bones were here. He's out, but I can't tell you how bad it is. No, I don't think...
Jak to no?
This is helpful. There's a button under the edge of the desk when the curator wants to open the door.
Czyli można otworzyć drzwi. Ale co jeszcze ty możesz
There's
zrobić?
something disturbing about a bird in a cage.
Poważnie?
Captain, I don't see how a pigeon is going to help us.
Tak, gołąb. Dla Scottiego każdy ptak jest gołąb.
Don't we have more important things to do than bird watching, Captain?
No dobra, zobacz co może zrobić z tą konsolą.
Not much of a trap, really. Fixed it up with a wee change of wiring.
Sukces! No to i po co odchodzisz od tego? Jeszcze raz to użyj. Wydobądź jakieś informacje.
I've checked the system, Captain. Whoever sabotaged it did a fine job. All of the modules of the security system were cut off from each other when the curator tried to trigger the defenses. And I do not think I can repair from here.
I wish we had more information. We don't know who they are, what they want, or how long we have to stop them.
Tyle czasu, ile tylko będziesz potrzebował, masz. Kapitan Kirk. Jest! Spróbujmy wyjść w takim razie.
Captain, what will we do when we get to the other room and the door closes?
No to wtedy będzie tutaj kurator w więzieniu zamknięty. Nie, zrobimy tak.
Mr. Checkov, see if you can wedge that knight under the door.
Yes, Captain.
Rycerz w lśniącej zbroi nas ocali.
There, that should hold the door open.
The suit of armor is firmly wedged under the door. The suit of...
Aha, myślałem, że to jeszcze Checkov jakoś skomentuje. Dobra, tutaj chyba już nie ma nic w tym pomieszczeniu, możemy stąd wyjść. Wyjść, powiedziałem. Very good. Po kolei teraz. Teraz już możemy kanibalizować.
I've looked this beastie over, and the only things we might be able to use are the capacitors. I've taken them out. They'll soak up a wee bit of power before releasing it.
Kondensatory? Kondensatory niestety nie są naładowane, ale można by je naładować za pomocą tego, tak? Ktoś to skomentuje?
This machine is putting out a fair amount of power.
No właśnie.
Mr. Scott would know more about this machine. I think this is nothing but a hulk now, Captain.
Hulk.
This is a bit... Not much I can do with it, Captain. It's not connected to anything.
A to?
Captain, I was able to recover some heat-resistant wiring and a cable.
Jest. Coraz więcej śmieci. Na pewno się przydadzą w walce z terrorystami. No cóż. Ale nie można przejść po prostu?
Security lockdown is in effect. Please enter access code.
VVSOP 2123.
Authorization code correct. Warning. Malfunction in security authorization. Access denied.
It appears that the terrorists do not want any visitors.
Kurde no.
Save,
I po co nam ten kod, skoro i tak nie działa? No nic, naładujmy kapacitory.
The capacitor should charge very quickly.
Było napisane very, a powiedział very.
The capacitor should charge very quickly.
No wiadomo, że to Amerykanin mówi, nie? I że czasami może aktor popełnić błąd, no ale też reżyser z Korei powinien pilnować, czy kto tam kontroluje właśnie te nagrania głosowe.
It's working fine. Just doesn't have anything to control right now.
No musimy tutaj poczekać, aż się naładuje. Będzie taki dźwięk. Dosyć głośny może być, może się przestraszyć. No, come on. Come on, bo zaraz terroryści do nas wparują. Jest. Jednak nie aż taki głośny.
Checkov takes the capacitor off of the Aurora generator.
Wspaniale.
Checkov takes the capacitor off of the Aurora generator.
Cudownie. Wyjdźmy.
Security lockdown is in effect. Please enter access code.
Może jednak nie wyjdziemy? Spróbujmy mimo wszystko.
Security lock deactivated.
No i tak, więc tylko te jedne drzwi się zepsuły. Co ty można jeszcze zrobić w takim razie?
I was able to pull some of the magnetic clamps off. Maybe we will find a use for them.
Magnetyczne coś?
The surface of the...
You know, Captain, this looks like the rings we worked on during my cadet summer training assignment.
Before or after the wells, Mr. Checkov? There's a story in this, isn't there? Before or after the well? There's a story.
Of course, Captain. Why else would I be talking? As I was saying, we worked with this type of rings. We were working in spacesuits outside the station practicing maneuvering things around. When the instructors would take a break, we would line up several of the rings. After lining them up, we would float a piece of metal toward the first one. The trick was to turn on the magnets as the metal approached, so it would accelerate towards the hole. Then we turned off the magnets as it passed through. When this was done for each ring, the piece of metal would go very fast out the backside.
Rather hard on the box, wasn't it?
What box? We were in space. I'm talking about knocking down the door.
The lad's got a good idea, Captain. If we cannot go around that big door, we can go through it.
I thought that's what I said.
Well, gentlemen, why are we standing here talking?
Czyli Checkov nam właśnie uświadomił, że te drzwi należy po prostu zniszczyć. Tylko jak? Będziemy musieli zbudować broń na podstawie tego, co on jej powiedział. I też od razu chciałbym zauważyć, że w momencie, kiedy ci terroryści zaatakowali muzeum, to oni zaczęli tutaj śpiewać trochę więcej na temat tych obiektów wszystkich.
Low and sleek.
That would make a fine battering ram. Too bad we cannot possibly get it up to speed.
Get it up to speed!
Captain Kirk does not think about escape.
We have no time to waste. Let's get back to work.
If we're going to get this done in time, Captain, we're going to have to put our backs into it.
Have we gotten everything we need yet?
No właśnie.
The plaque reads, a fail.
If we could make it run, maybe we could use it to force the door open.
Interesting idea, Mr. Checkov. We'll have to keep it in mind.
Takim gównem małym?
This was a
Nice diagram.
Może jednak najpierw to?
We should get some of these for the Enterprise, Captain. It's a good vehicle.
I'll grant you it's a good little craft, Checkov, but we'll never need escape vehicles in the Enterprise.
Nie. Jak Enterprise się niszczy, to cała załoga ginie razem z nim. Ale przecież ten...
I'm just a simple captain, not an engineer. I'll let one of you handle this.
Tutaj coś jeszcze powinno być zrobione. O.
Everything on this pod's too tight. I need the proper tools. I was able to get one loose access panel, but I'm not sure what we can do with it.
Czyli kawał blachy. No dobra. A to?
This is a bizarre piece of machinery. I wonder what it was designed for.
No jak to? Jakiś taki robocik. To jest ten piesek taki, nie? Mechaniczny. Elektryczny. O, działa. Coś się nie, chyba nie... Ojej.
That has to be one of the most useless robots I've ever seen.
Badly designed, Captain.
It's not going to help us, is it?
Only in a dance contest, Mr. Checkov.
Niestety wskrzeszenie potwora Frankensteina nie powiodło się.
You take the capacitor out of the robot.
This is not exactly my area.
Ale coś tutaj odpadło, nie?
There's no way anyone could fix this piece of junk, no matter how much time was available. But I did get some wires that may be helpful.
O, coraz więcej mamy złomu w ekwipunku. No dobrze. Jakieś tutaj nawet dżownice mamy. I to chyba jest już wszystko, co będziemy stąd potrzebować. Pomimo tego, że tutaj są jeszcze takie obiekty, mi się wydaje, że aktywowanie ich nie jest konieczne. Teraz naładujemy jeszcze ten kondensator. Będzie nam potrzebny.
The capacitor should charge very quickly.
Musimy niestety poczekać, ale chyba w międzyczasie możemy już zacząć budować naszą broń. Czyli tak, najpierw to.
We'll still have to wire them up, Captain. That's going to be the real job.
Postawił U. Scotty. Okablowanie teraz. Tymi dżownicami.
Captain, I'll need a little help positioning the clamps correctly while wiring them. Captain, push harder. I'll need these tighter to get more power.
I'm giving it all I got, Scotty.
Yeah. Upstrzył je jak choinkę. Teraz to, tak? Pręt.
We are hooked up here, Captain.
Który jakbyś tak dziwnie leży przed tym.
Checkov.
I teraz chyba jeszcze trzeba to drutem połączyć.
No, I don't think...
Actually, Captain, I don't think these will do. They'd survive firing the beastie, but they don't carry enough current for what we're likely to need.
I'm sure we could find something that would work in this place.
Actually, Captain...
I'm sure we...
Mam nadzieję, że nie zapomniałem o niczym. Może tą blachę?
This is mostly ceramic, Captain. Not likely to work well with our little beastie here.
A może to już jest wszystko skonstruowane? Zobaczmy.
We'll need to have a power storage source before we can do anything else.
Nie wiem, czy to jest prawidłowe postępowanie. Czy też nie trzeba tego czasem...
As soon as we finish the device, we'll be ready to trigger it.
No, I don't...
Actually, Captain...
I'm sure we could...
Zapomniałem, co tutaj trzeba zrobić, no.
Checkov. Check.
Może jednak na ten trzeba tego użyć.
No, I don't. No,
Nie.
Actually, Captain,
I'm sure we could.
No tak. W końcu ta lanca była po coś potrzebna, nie? Zupełnie zapomniałem, że ją mam.
One projectile ready to go, Captain.
I teraz chyba jeszcze te kondensatory trzeba położyć.
We'll need to have a power storage source before we can...
Jedno wystarczy?
There's not enough power.
Nie, ale przynajmniej wiem, że robię dobrze.
Thank you, Captain. This'll be just like old times.
school must miss you dearly, Mr. Scott.
Schowali się? Ale rakieta. Yeah, żeśmy wyrąbali dziurę. Co na tym powiesz na temat stołu teraz?
All we need is a suitable projectile.
No przecież już ten. Już żeśmy zrobili.
All we need...
Mr. Scott would know more.
A to się chyba już teraz zepsuło, nie?
The surface of the generator is a mass of melted wiring and metal. The only glow is from dissipating heat.
Tak. Czyli już nie będzie zasilało nam tego.
Checkov takes...
Ale i tak będzie to potrzebne.
Checkov takes...
Musimy to wziąć. Musimy to wziąć. I możemy stąd wyjść. Tam. Tylko że to będzie w odcinku następnym.